Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating story centered around one of the world's most famous spiritual figures, Sadhguru. We're going to dive deep into his core philosophy, specifically his teachings on death as a spiritual process. But we aren't just sticking to the theory here. We're taking these teachings and applying them to a real-world, highly debated controversy, the sudden and mysterious passing of his wife, Viji, back in 1997. We'll look at the official Foundation narratives, the critics' counterclaims, and the official police findings, laying it all out impartially from start to finish. Let's get into it.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the philosophy of death, the concept of Mahasamadhi, the passing of Viji, inconsistencies and questions, and finally, investigations and aftermath. So we're basically moving from abstract yogic philosophy straight into the concrete details of a highly scrutinized investigation.
Part 1. The Philosophy of Death, Embracing the Inevitable. Now, to truly understand the controversy later on, we first absolutely have to understand the teachings. In Sadhguru's framework, which he outlines extensively in his book Death, An Inside Story, death isn't this terrifying end. It's not something to be feared. Instead, it's a profound transition that needs to be understood and, remarkably, managed as an active spiritual process.
He actually frames it in a pretty unconventional way. Sadhguru calls death a cosmic joke. He teaches that the only reason we harbor such a deep, paralyzing terror of dying is simply because we don't know anything beyond our physical bodies. To him, death isn't some dark, empty void. No, it's a dimension of life that is pure intensity. He even suggests that, spiritually speaking, whatever didn't happen for you during your lifetime can actually happen at the exact moment of your death. It's a total paradigm shift. And he builds on this fascinating duality. Think about life. It's tension, right? It requires constant effort, sustenance, and action just to keep going. Death, on the other hand, is profound relaxation. Sadhguru teaches that if you can truly grasp the relaxation of death while you're still alive, life itself just becomes this entirely effortless process. So by perceiving death not as the enemy of life but as a silent collaborator, you can radically heighten your perception and create a force.
Part 2. The Concept of Mahasamadhi, the Conscious Exit. Which brings us to the ultimate zenith of these spiritual teachings. Because if death is just a transition, well, could a person control it? According to the yogic tradition, the answer is an absolute yes. Enter the concept of Mahasamadhi. This is defined as the conscious and intentional decision by an accomplished yogi to shed their physical body without injuring it. According to Sadhguru, if you gain enough mastery over yourself and your life experience, you can literally determine exactly when and how you are going to die. It's basically considered the ultimate goal for a spiritual seeker.
In theory, that sounds beautiful, doesn't it? A totally serene, controlled exit. But what actually happens when this ultimate spiritual exit is claimed in real life? Because the second you transition from spiritual theory into grounded reality, you get a massive collision. Ancient beliefs suddenly crash right into the demands of the modern world, things like medical science, the law, and just general human skepticism. And that exact collision happened in 1997.
Part 3. The Passing of Viji, January 23, 1997. Let's shift our focus to Vijaya Kumari, affectionately known as Viji. She was Sadhguru's wife, a mother, and a very active part of his foundation. And on January 23, 1997, it was announced that she had attained Mahasamadhi.
Now, the really crucial point here is the remarkably tight timeline of events. According to the official narrative, a group meditation began at 5:45 p.m. Just 15 minutes later, at 6 p.m., Viji reportedly left her physical body. And then, by 6 a.m. the very next morning, just 12 hours later, her body was cremated. And notably, this happened before her own father could even arrive to see her.
The Isha Foundation's official account celebrates this event as a massive spiritual triumph. The narrative states that she prepared by taking off her jewelry to remove any physical impediments. Sadhguru claims she left consciously through her anahata or heart chakra, and that the whole process took just 7 to 8 minutes. She departed with a smile, and the Foundation maintains this happened right in front of hundreds of people. For them, this was a profoundly proud moment for spiritual seekers everywhere.
Part 4. Inconsistencies and Questions, Examining the Evidence. However, when you step outside the Foundation's official literature, a much more complicated picture starts to emerge. Critics, journalists, and official documents present findings that sharply challenge this pristine spiritual narrative. Let's look at the evidence. Right away, there's a stark contrast between the two main accounts of her final moments. On one hand, the official version gives us this instant, effortless spiritual exit. But on the other hand, we have the details from the actual police report.
According to this document, Vijay suddenly swooned, said Shambho, and actually fell onto another disciple. Most critically, a Dr. Kalaselvan examined her and observed what's called jaw breathing. Now, jaw breathing is a sign of severe medical distress, suggesting she may have suffered a heart attack, which totally contradicts the claim of an instantaneous, effortless exit.
And honestly, the story gets even more complex. In an archived audio recording, Sadhguru himself offers a third, highly dramatic version. He claims that right before she passed, she actually went out and asked a disciple to fetch her a rose. She then held the rose, chanted, and passed away. This version seems to completely contradict the established story of her sitting deeply in group meditation and removing her jewelry to shed all physical ties.
Then there's the critics' argument regarding her motivation. Sadhguru has claimed that Vijay was deeply inspired to attain Mahasamadhi after visiting a sage named Swami Nirmalananda. But if you look at the historical records, Swami Nirmalananda didn't achieve a sudden conscious exit. He actually announced a self-willed death by fasting. It was a slow, grueling process that even prompted local police to step in and try to prevent his starvation. So the inspiration for an instant Mahasamadhi just doesn't quite align with the Swami's actual method of passing.
On top of that, the reported number of witnesses has fluctuated wildly over the years. Early stories mentioned exactly 13 people in a specific meditation group. Later on, the official Isha website scaled that way up to hundreds of people being present. Yet, an investigative journalist interviewed a close friend of the couple, who went by the alias Karishma, and she claimed that Sadhguru was actually home alone with Vijay when she died. She alleged the whole group meditation story was constructed after the fact. These shifting numbers obviously raised some pretty serious questions about what truly went down in that room.
Part 5. Investigations and Aftermath, the Search for Truth. Given all these inconsistencies, the rapid 12-hour cremation, and the complete lack of a medical autopsy, it's really not surprising that this didn't stay a simple spiritual debate. It eventually escalated into a formal, legal police investigation.
8 months after her death, Vijay's own father, T.S. Gangana, filed a formal police complaint, and he explicitly suspected murder. His primary concern was that hasty 12-hour cremation, which totally prevented any chance of a post-mortem autopsy. Adding fuel to the fire, some friends and critics alleged there was domestic strife in the marriage regarding Sadhguru's closeness to other female disciples. Plus, critics were quick to point out that Mahasamadhi typically requires decades of rigorous ascetic yogic training that Vijay, who is a 33-year-old working mother, simply did not possess.
But to get the full picture, it is absolutely essential to look at the official resolution of this case. The Isha Foundation immediately welcomed a full police investigation. Authorities came in and examined 45 eyewitnesses, all of whom were residents of the ashram, and their statements fully supported Sadhguru's account. Furthermore, the Forensic Science Laboratory ran extensive tests on the remains, the bones and ashes that were recovered, and they detected absolutely no suspicious substances or any evidence of foul play whatsoever. Consequently, the police found no grounds for the allegations, and the case was officially closed by 1999, completely clearing Sadhguru.
And so that's where we're left today. The case is legally closed, yet the debate continues to thrive online and in print. For followers, this event remains a profound, awe-inspiring testament to Sadhguru's teachings on mastering life and death as the ultimate spiritual process. But for critics, the rapid cremation and those conflicting stories leave a permanent shadow of doubt. It leaves us with a final, really provocative thought. When the ultimate spiritual experience leaves absolutely no physical trace, can the truth of a phenomenon like Mahasamadhi ever truly be reconciled with the rigorous demands of modern evidence? It's a fascinating question that bridges ancient faith and modern skepticism, and honestly, one you'll have to answer for yourself. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Catch you next time.